Welcome back, first graders, and thank you for joining me again today for our shared reading lesson as we explore Unit 2, Module B, Lesson 12. Today we're going to be reading again from both texts, Far From Home and Going to School. Let's check out and see what our lesson has in store for us today. Good writers understand that experiences can be compared and contrasted. We are going to look at how stories and informational texts tell experiences in different ways. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the ways that stories and informational text are different. Our learning intention for today says, we are learning to use key details and illustrations in text to demonstrate knowledge of the main ideas and central message. Our success criteria says, you will be successful when you can identify the main topic and central message, understand a story's central message, use text features to learn about a topic, locate key information in a text, identify information from pictures, and tell how information is connected. We will be reading from both our texts today, Far From Home, written and illustrated by Sue Pickford, and Going to School, written by Margaret Klein, Rachel Griffiths, and Cynthia Benjamin. We will read all of Far From Home, and we will be reading pages 14 through 21 of Going to School. Please be sure to follow along with me as I read. Brian liked to be perfect. He never broke the rules. He always did his homework. His shirt was neatly tucked in for school. Brian lived in a tidy house. The house was on a lovely tree-lined street. One day, Brian's mom told him she had a new job. The job was in China. The family would have to move. Brian was shocked. He didn't know where China was, but he knew it was far away. Brian was sad to say goodbye to his friends. When he arrived in China, things seemed strange. On the first day of school, he got lost. At school, a boy named Tao said hello. Tao said he was the class monitor. He promised to look after Brian. At recess, Brian wanted to play basketball. No one was allowed to play. Everyone had to exercise instead. At lunchtime, Brian was hungry. He couldn't use the chopsticks properly. So he invented another way. It worked just as well. After lunch, Brian had to learn a new sport. It was called Kung Fu. He found it hard. He kept falling over. The other children helped Brian. Then he started to enjoy it. The last lesson of the day was painting. Brian had never used ink before. He was trying hard, but then he spilled ink over his paper. Tao helped him clean it up. The teacher called Brian to the front of the class. Brian thought he would be scolded. Instead, he was awarded a sticker. His painting said the word friend in Chinese. Boys and girls, I noticed we have a highlighted word in the text, and I remember the highlighted word is our vocabulary word. Can you find it on the page? The word lesson means an activity you do in order to learn something. like we are doing our reading lesson now. Soon it was time to go home. Brian gave his painting to Tao as a present. He waved goodbye to his new friends. He had enjoyed the first day of his new school. He couldn't wait until tomorrow. And now I'm going to read from the book Going to School. Japan. 10-year-old Dasuki goes to Yawata Primary School in Ogawa, Japan. He spends a lot of time there. In Japan, school begins in April and lasts until the following March. And I can see I have an illustration, and right underneath the illustration is the caption that reads, Dasuki's name in Japanese characters. There's also this illustration, and the caption reads, Dasuki left and his best friend Yasuki right. And then over at the top of the page is the illustration that reads, Dasuki's School. Dasuki studies math, social studies, music, and the Japanese language. His favorite subject is science because he loves learning about dinosaurs. When Daisuke grows up, he wants to become a scientist and study dinosaur fossils. Then there is another illustration at the bottom, and it reads Daisuke's drawing of a dinosaur. And then we have this illustration with the caption, Dasuki's Schoolwork. This is Dasuki's science book. The red swirls were made by Dasuki's teacher. They tell him that his work is correct. Russia. 8-year-old Aliyah goes to the Russian classical dance school. This school is in Moscow, the largest city in Russia. In Russia, many children go to schools that focus on one type of skill, like languages, music, or dance. And then we have the illustration at the bottom, and the caption reads, Aliyah's mother takes her to school. They go on the Moscow Metro, an underground train system. And then over on the top of this page, we have another illustration with the caption that reads, Aliyah's Schoolwork. Aliyah writes her English lessons in this book. She writes with Cyrillic letters. The Cyrillic alphabet is used in the Russian language. In the morning, Aliyah learns Russian, English, and French. She also studies math and art. All afternoon, she takes ballet lessons. Aliyah has always wanted to be a ballet dancer. When she finishes school, she hopes to join a ballet company. And then we have the caption that goes with this illustration, and it reads, Aliyah's mother made the leotard she wears to ballet class. South Africa. Sabanjale goes to Ellerton Primary School near Cape Town, South Africa. It is a 90-minute drive from her house. Sabanjale's day starts very early. Her mother wakes her at 4:30 a.m. Sabanjale puts on her school uniform and eats breakfast. At 5:50, a truck arrives to take her to school. And then we have an illustration, and this caption reads, Sabanjale and 15 other children go to school in this truck. And up here at the top, we have the illustration. Sabanjale and her classmates often study in groups. School at Ellerton is fun, so Sabanjale doesn't mind the long trip. She and her classmates study math, English, science, and history. They also learn Afrikaans. Afrikaans is one of the official languages of South Africa. There's time for fun too. At recess, Sabanjale and her friends play ball games on the playground. During the warm summer days, they swim in the swimming pool at school. And then we have one more caption down here for this illustration, and it reads, Sabanjale's schoolwork. This is Sabanjale's science book. Science is her favorite subject because there are so many different topics to learn. And then I noticed we have another vocabulary word on our page. Highlighted in the text is the word classmates. Classmates means a member of the same class in a school, college, or university. United Kingdom. 11-year-old Samantha goes to Dorton House School in Seal, England, in the United Kingdom. It is a school for blind children. Some of Samantha's classmates live at school during the week. Samantha lives at home with her family. And then we have an illustration, and the caption reads, about 150 students go to Dorton House School. Here's another illustration. Samantha plays soccer at school. And at the top of the page, we have this illustration, Samantha's schoolwork. The pictures in Samantha's science book are made with raised lines. The words are in Braille. In Braille, bumps stand for letters. To read, Samantha fills the bumps with her fingers. Like other British children, Samantha studies math, science, English, and geography. To do schoolwork, she uses a talking computer and calculator. She also uses maps and diagrams. With raised lines, she can fill. Samantha's favorite class is music. She even writes her own songs. And then we have a picture, and it says, Samantha does math with this talking calculator. It says aloud the numbers she presses. And now, boys and girls, we've come to this section where we're going to check our understanding of what we've read today with some comprehension questions. This would be a great place to pause the video and get your pencil and paper to write your answers down. Remember, boys and girls, you can pause the video after each question to allow yourself time to write down your answers so that you can share your answers with your teacher later. Our first question says, where does Brian go to school? Where does Daisuke go to school? How are Brian and Daisuke alike and different? So you can use the text at the top of the screen to help you answer your questions. Our next questions say, the text says that Brian enjoyed his first day at school. What evidence does the author give in the book to support this? So that tells me that we have to use pages 8 and 10 and tell how we know that Brian enjoyed his first day of school. What in the text tells you this? Our last set of questions say, what subject does Brian study at school? Which child from going to school also studies one of these subjects? How are Brian and Aaliyah different? So remember, Aaliyah is from Russia and Brian is going to school in China. So how are they different? You can always pause the video and go back and look for your answer. Now we've come to our journal writing activity for today. Your journal writing activity prompt says, in both our stories today, we learned about how some schools in different countries are the same and how they are different. Did you know that all countries have leaders too? In our country, the United States of America, we have a leader that is called the President. Our president has a very important job. He signs the laws of our country and even laws about how to run our school. He flies on his own plane called Air Force One. He meets with other country leaders to discuss and work out plans to solve world problems. He also acts as the commander-in-chief to our military forces to make sure to keep us and our country safe. Do you know who our president is? Let's pretend we have a student visiting from another country. Think about what you have just learned. Then write 2 to 3 sentences explaining how you would describe what our president does to the new student. Be sure to include details and facts in your writing. You can draw a picture if you would like. So my friends, be sure if you need to pause the video and go back and reread what I read in our writing prompt, and then pick out 2 pieces of information that you would share with one of our students. You can also use the pictures to help remind you of some of the things we just learned. Now it's time to check our learning intentions and success criteria for today. Our learning intentions said, we are learning to use key details and illustrations in text to demonstrate knowledge of the main ideas and the central message. How we will know we are successful is you will be successful when you can identify the main topic and central message, and we have been learning about schools in different countries. Understand a story's central message, and remember the central message is what the author wants us to learn from the story. And so I think that they want us to learn about the different schools in different countries, don't you? And then use text features to learn about a topic. And we've been using the illustrations and the captions to help us with our lesson. Locate key information in a text. So that's when we have to go back. When we were looking for our answers today, we went back and looked at the text to find evidence in the text to support our answers. So I'm going to put a check mark there. Identify information from the pictures. Yes, we can use our illustrations and captions to help us know more. And tell how the information is connected. So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark there. Wow, guys, you are doing such a fabulous job. You are such good readers. And now we've come to the end of our lesson. And wow, what a fantastic job you guys did today. Thank you for sharing your reading time with me. But until we meet again, be sure that you are reading each day at least 20 minutes to yourself. Because remember what Mrs. Bradley says, practice makes us better, and we want to be better readers. Well, first grade, you have an amazing day, and until next time, see you later.